So there's a sheet going around, just if you could sign your name, put name, student number, that would be brilliant. I'll get you on to quickly then. So we've got a really good friend of mine, two really good friends of mine, Martin and Michelle Gilchrist, from Gilchrist and Co. Chartered Accountants. And Martin basically was the person who showed me how to network properly. So I've asked Martin to come along and give you guys some real practical stories and anecdotes and tips about how can you actually do this in practice. I've given you some pointers, go on to the slides, whatever else, but Martin will give you some sort of idea of how this really works in their life.
Hello everyone, my name is Martin Gilchrist, and I am the...
Only a second, apologies. Oh, apologies, I should ask you, this is being recorded up at the front. Are you all comfortable with that? None of you will be seen. Okay, just had to ask that with a bit of permission.
Thanks for that.
You need to edit that at the start because I walked through right in front of your camera. Sorry, Martin.
So, my name is Martin Gilchrist, and I am the practice manager at Gilchrist & Co. Chartered Accountants. I'm here today with Michelle Gilchrist, FCA. Michelle is the principal of the practice and a senior member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants. That's the most important thing I'm going to say to you today. I'm going to explain why. Your name, when it comes to networking, is the most important thing you want people to hear, because it's your name that gives them the hook to know who you are. When you think about this class today, how many people in this class today will say your name? How many times will you say someone else's name? When somebody says your name, or when you say somebody else's name, it means that they know you and you know them. My job at Gilchrist & Co. is building a network around us. A network of people not only that can buy our services or sell us stuff, but a network of people that will inspire us. A network of people that will provide us with information. A network of people that will motivate us and support us when we get into difficulty or come across rough patches. And it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you're an employee. It doesn't matter if you're a student. It doesn't matter if you're unemployed. It doesn't matter if you're a full-time sports person. If you don't have that network, you're disadvantaged right away. So you have to be able to build a network. And the thing about a network is, if nobody knows your name, if nobody knows who you are, it doesn't matter how brilliant you are, it doesn't matter how brilliant they are, they can't help you. They have to know you to help you. You have to have them in your network, even if it's only a loose connection, before they can help you. James touched on something that I do. When I go along to a networking event, even if it's like this today, and there's 30 or 40 people in the room, even if there's 10, 15 people in the room, or even if there's 500 people in the room, I'm not going to get the opportunity to talk to everybody. If I tried to talk to all of you, have a conversation with all of you, in the time that I have here today, individually, those wouldn't be much of conversations. So when you go along to a networking event, one of the things you want to do is have as many people as possible hear your name. And we've just discussed why that name is important. So what I do at a networking event, and if you go to any business networking event, I'm interested in business, I go to business networking events, there will usually be a panel discussion. And if there's a panel discussion, there will be questions and answers. Now, when there's questions and answers, there's somebody with a mic, and they are worried. They don't want to be left hanging when the compere says, does anybody have any questions? A bit like this room. Does anybody have any questions? Nobody answers. It leaves them hanging. It's an awkward situation. So I'm there, I'm ready, and I've given them an indication that I'll ask a question. So when the compere comes from the top of the room and they've had the panel discussions and they say, does anybody have any questions? I have my hand up. I'm the first to go. I'm ready to go because I want the first question. Because the first question comes with a little bit of intrigue and a little bit of curiosity, and people are wondering, who would be that person that would ask the first question? Who's going to stick their neck out and be that person? And when the mic comes to me, whether I've been asked to or not, I stand up. Now the whole room can see me. And before I even talk, they're making a judgment. I don't care what the judgment is. They're just making a judgment. They're going, who's this guy? And I tell them, my name is Martin Gilchrist. And I'm here from Gilchrist & Co. Chartered Accountants. We look after professional people in independent practice, and I will ask a question couched in our clients would want to know. So if there's a question, I would ask the panel, what would Gilchrist and clients want to know? The question doesn't matter, because everybody in the room knows my name, Martin Gilchrist, from Gilchrist & Co. Chartered Accountants. You have to think to yourself then, okay, so people know your name, but so what? So what are they going to do with that? You have to work on that then. Once the people know your name, they can then approach you. I'll give you one example of how that particular thing benefited me last week. I was at a VC conference in the Mac. There was about 60 people in the room. The headline accountant wasn't even us. It was another practice from OMA. We're doing a talk about EIS. So they were up on the stage. And question and answer session came up. I stood my hand up, I asked my question, told everybody who it was, sat down. And when the formal part of the event was over, who were the VCs lining up to talk to? There were much more important people than me in the room, but I was the only one who they knew. They had my name. They were able to come over and say, hi Martin. They knew where I came from. They were familiar with me, even though they didn't know who I was. People need to know your name. Okay, so they know your name. What do you do next? I'm going to give you 5 tips. And James could be on me here because I'm going to run off and these people want to go somewhere else and do something else. But the first thing is start something. Start something. If you start something, a club, a group, an association, a coffee morning, a walking group, a running group, a study group, you get the credibility that goes with that. Everybody knows who you are. Everybody knows your name. I started about 12 years ago an association called the Social Media Association for Business. I put a post on Facebook. I said I was coming down to the University of Ulster. I didn't even have a room booked. I rang up the University of Ulster and said, I'm from the Social Media Association of Business, which I just made up. Do you have a room? They gave me the boardroom right at the top of this building. 40 people came along. Those people shared the story. The next event, the following month, had 250 people up in the Connor Lecture Hall. Apart from posting it on Facebook and inviting people to come, I never stood up at the podium. I never handed out a business card, and I never mentioned the name Gilchrist & Co. in all the 18 events that we did from this association that I started. But every single person, every single one that came along to the smile, you appreciate Radio Social Media Association, knew who I was, because everybody wants to know who's in charge, who makes this happen. So start something and you'll get the credibility out of it, but you'll also get profit out of it. So even though I never once mentioned it practice on what we do, we got directly from people who were going along to those events about £25,000 of new client work in that year. Doing something that I would have been doing anyway, doing something that I enjoyed. Most of those clients are still with us 10, 12 years later. That's a recurring fee. Not hard to work out how much that was worth. Start something. It's incredibly valuable. Now, starting something's hard. Most of you won't. Most of you will go out, Martin told us, well, I will start something. If you're not going to start something, join something. Join something and become an active participant. Join something and stand up to be counted and become part of the steering group. Join something and get involved. I was asked to join the board of an enterprise agency called Down Enterprise Partners. And to be honest, I wasn't really interested. You know, go along and sit with a lot of old people like me, eating bickies, talking rubbish to each other. But I did. I thought there might be something in it. I joined the board, and it was old people eating bickies. I was the person that was shaking the tree. I was coming up with ideas, I was inviting people along, I was hosting events, And before too long, they elected me to be chairman of the board of Down Enterprise Park. And that's when the benefits really started to roll in. If anybody wanted to talk about business in Down District, I was at the table. The head of Invest NI, the economy minister, overseas trade delegations, whoever that was, when they came to County Down to do business, I was at the table. I got to make suggestions, I got to put forward ideas, I got to tell them what wasn't working, I got to tell them what was working, simply because I joined something. So make sure that you join stuff. Find your space. Where do you fit? Where are you good? Where are you popular? Where are you admired? Where are you respected? Is there a physical location? Is it the football club? Is it the golf club? Is it the pub? Doesn't matter. But have a place where people can find you, where they know that you will be, where other people know who you are, that you're respected, trusted, that people talk well about you when you're not there. And that place can be online or it can be offline. One of my places was Farset Labs. Does anybody know Farset Labs? You should do. You absolutely should do. Because Farset Labs is a hacker space which is run by students over in Weaver's Industrial Court. Set up by a guy called, well, he's Dr. Bolster now, but Andrew Bolster. And when he was a student like your guys, he came to me and said, I set up a hacker space, Martin, will you help me with it? He started something and he made it happen. He became the go-to guy for all stuff hacker space in Northern Ireland and was well involved in the university and all that. What did I do at the hackerspace? I just turned up, we helped with the accounts, we did talks, we had events and all the rest, and we got loads of clients out of it. We built our reputation because we were seen as credible, because we were working with these credible young people and doing incredible stuff. Find your space in the real world. But find your space online, like James said. Recently, my space has been on Zoom. Wednesday nights, 8 p.m, with a business friend of mine called Peter Doak. Peter Doak is the founder of PDG Advertising. G stands for Global. He only has one office in Portadown. He's an ambitious young man. But Peter reached out to me and said, Martin, you're an incredibly handsome and sophisticated, trying to say a word, person. You're married all around the company. Will you join me on a business conversation? We'll do it weekly, we'll do it at the same time, and people can tune in live, but we'll also record it and we'll put it onto a YouTube channel. That was a space online where people would know that I would be live. You could have talked to me. If you'd come at 8 o'clock on Wednesday night, you could have talked to me in that place. And we brought on guests. So James came on. James was our best guest, by far. We talked about all sorts of subjects around business. And we had well over 1,000 people get involved in just the YouTube channel itself. The number of people that would have seen that across LinkedIn and Facebook could have been 10,000 people. What better way for me to get that Gilchrist & Co brand and my wee happy bake out to loads of people? Find your space. James already touched upon doing stuff about expectation and reciprocation. Guess what, guys and girls? We are all the same. We all eat, we all cry, we all get tired. Hangovers are a bummer for everybody gets a hangover. The other thing is that we have the same natural instincts. And we have the natural instinct when I do a good thing for you, or for you, or for you, I'm going to repay that favor. Martin's a nice guy. Martin bought me lunch. I'll have to get him lunch back. Martin helped me with his course. Well, if he asked me for help, I'm going to help him. The reason I'm here today with James is not because I'm getting paid. It's costing me money to be here. I'm losing a fully fledged principal of a practice. Guess how much money she earns in a day? How much money is it costing us to be here? We're here out of a sense of loyalty and respect and gratitude for stuff that James has done us in the past. That's what reciprocation is. So when James came to me 3 or 4 years ago, he was hosting, I think it might have been your first private event, it was called What is Your Motivation? And it was held down in the Dark Horse. And I never did public speaking. I hate public speaking. I'm not good at public speaking. I'm not confident in public speaking. I didn't want to do it. And James said, Martin, this is your chance. He let me out of the box. I'm sure he regrets it ever since. He invited me down, and we had a great big crowd come along, and great speakers, and great food, and great crack. And we got about 2 or 3 clients out of the event as well. Simply because James was reciprocating something I had done. He didn't have to do it. He was under no obligation to do it. But that's the way it works. Do something. Good news. Really good news. This is the final point. Nearly finished. The final point is have a party. When was the last time you organized a party? It wasn't a birthday party, or a Christmas party, or a finishing university. When was the last time, and when I'm talking about a party, I'm not talking about type of parties that people have a drink, dancing, and fun. You know, I'm not talking about those type of parties. What I'm talking about is find an excuse, any excuse. You don't even have to have an excuse. Bring together people that motivate you, that inspire you, that engage you, that encourage you, that help you, people that you like, and just put them in a room. Magic will happen. Magic will happen. It always does. I've never put a group of people that I admire, respect, and engaged by in a room, and magic hasn't happened. And by magic I'm talking about collaboration, connection, building relationships, ideas, all that great stuff. Have a party. Okay, I'm finished. But I know you're going to sit through this, and after it's finished, you'll walk out the door, you'll forget my name, you'll forget what I do, you know, some guy looked like an accountant turned up, give a wee talk. A month from now, you'll definitely not know who I am. So I'm going to have to ask you to do one thing for me. Always have an ask. Always have a reason. I'm going to ask something of you. When you leave the room today, listen to what James has said. Take it on board. Listen to what I've said. And actively start to build that valuable, motivating, engaging, useful network around yourself. And guys, start to change the world. That's me done.